Kit Glenberg has an article up at Mint Press about the conspiracy theory is now fact of Greater Israel. Ever since Tel Aviv's 1948 creation, much has been said and written about Greater Israel. The notion Zionism's ultimate end goal is the forcible annexation and ethnic cleansing of vast swaths of Arab lands for Jewish settlement based on biblical claims that this area was promised by God. The media typically dismisses this concept as an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, or at most a fringe fantasy of a minuscule handful of Israelis. But we're now learning that it is no minuscule handful of Israelis that believe in Greater Israel, which is also on a patch on many of the soldiers' shoulders, Greater Israel. The Guardian admitted in 2009 the idea of a Greater Israel has long appealed to religious and secular right-wing nationalists alike in Tel Aviv. They have the shared objective of seeking to fulfill divine commandments and about the beginning of redemption, as well as create facts on the ground to enhance Israel's security. The outlet acknowledged this motivation was a key contemporary driving force in mainstream Israeli politics, which effectively turned the Palestinians into aliens on their own soil. So that's even The Guardian back in 2009 admitting that there was a big push for Greater Israel to have all of this land stolen, Gaza, West Bank, parts of Lebanon, parts of Jordan. The Nation has described the push to establish Greater Israel as a central ideological goal of Netanyahu's Likud party. The Syrian government's fall has raised questions, concerns, and uncertainties locally and internationally. Can the country survive in its present form? And let's remember that Syria's fall was manifested by U.S. and Israel. And you can say one and mean both because they are one and the same. The U.S. and Israel, there are maybe debates as to whether the U.S. is a feudal empire to Israel or whether Israel is a feudal state to the United States. Either way, whichever one is sucking off the other, I think they're sucking off each other. Israel and the United States funded, armed, facilitated Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, ISIS even in sometimes to take over Syria. And now those groups, for some reason, you'd think groups that would despise Israel have no interest in attacking Israel. Isn't that funny? ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, they're essentially never attacking Israelis. Isn't that strange? Will Western-backed former ultra-extremists be able to run a government in Syria? Question mark. Could the Iran-led axis of resistance, which inflicted serious harm to Israel and its Western allies through 2023 and 24, be under threat? The list goes on. But one thing is sure, Israel is seeking to profit handsomely from the chaos. Assad's fall has sparked a Syrian military withdrawal from the area, and in turn, the IDF is moving in. Netanyahu announced that orders had been given for the IDF to push deep into the demilitarized zone created by their agreement with Syria, which is legally and historically Syrian territory. He claimed this was merely a temporary defensive position. How many of you think Israel is going to take part of Syria as a defensive position and then give it back? Anyone? Anyone? He claimed there was a temporary defensive position, yet ever since it has become increasingly unambiguous that for Israel, Assad's departure not only greenlights the tearing up of long-standing agreements, but the entire map of the Middle East as we know it. The IDF has captured strategically invaluable Mount Hermon, Syria's tallest mountain, from which Damascus can be seen 40 miles away. Concurrently, hundreds of Israeli airstrikes have obliterated what remained of Syria's military. Yeah, not a lot was made of that in the Western media, but basically after Syria fell, Israel blew up their entire military. And the new leader of Syria, the former al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, HTS, he said it was fine. In an interview, they were like, are you concerned that Israel just blew up all of Syria's military? And he's like, no, it's not a big deal. Israeli media has undergone a significant tonal shift. Historically, had framed the state's actions ranging from operations against neighboring countries to settlement expansion in terms of security and defense. In the days leading up to Tel Aviv's invasion of Lebanon in 2024, the Jerusalem Post published a strikingly candid explainer guide for its readers asking, is Lebanon part of Israel's promised territory? So you're seeing this shift in Israeli media where they used to say, oh, this is defensive. Oh, we're fighting. We're fighting for our security. And that has now shifted to, look, we own these parts of these other countries. Is this Israeli territory? Now, guess what? Zero is Israeli territory, all right? If you look at the maps, it used to be Mandatory Palestine is what it was called. If you go back before 1948. Then 33 nations in the UN voted to create Israel. And that UN map from 1948 has now been enlarged, and Israel has stolen loads more land. They've almost doubled their land that they had back then. The Post leaned on a Brooklyn-based rabbi to graciously explain in detail how, based on multiple passages in Jewish scripture, Lebanon is within the borders of Israel, which, of course, is idiocy, because the word Israel, you will see it a lot in Jewish prayers. You'll see it if you were to go to a synagogue right now, you'd probably hear the word Israel multiple times in whatever passages from the Torah they're reading. But Israel, the word Israel means multiple things. Sometimes it means God. Sometimes it means the people that the people that wrestle with God. Now, the reason it means wrestle as in debate. That term was then used to describe this nation state that the UN created in 1948. But when you read the word Israel in scriptures from hundreds of years ago, it has nothing to do with the current nation state of Israel. On December 4th, 4 days before the Syrian government's fall, the Times of Israel published an op-ed on how Israel's exploding population urgently required Lebensraum. Now, I didn't know this, but people who are smarter about World War II than I am, or smarter about German maybe. Lebensraum is a notorious German concept that was used prior and during World War II, meaning living room. And it was typically associated with the Nazis. It was a Nazi concept of like, we need to, for example, annex Austria because we need more Lebensraum. It's kind of like U.S. Manifest Destiny, pretty similar. Here you have Israel using the Nazi term for taking over land in their own article. How disgusting can they get? The piece noted that Israel's population was projected to grow to 15 million by 2048. Tel Aviv's territory rapidly needed to be expanded. By the way, the title of that article saying Lebensraum was changed after some people, for some reason, got upset. Since the collapse of Assad's government, the phrase Greater Israel has reemerged in Israeli media. They're also, of course, going after Lebanon. This is geopolitical analyst Sharmeen Narwani said, the good news is Israel has completely dropped all its masks. The bad news is it will go for land grabs everywhere, but this will be done opportunistically and without much forethought or strategic planning. In the end, which country besides the U.S. will be able to support Israel publicly? Tel Aviv will corner itself because the dominant Western discourse and EU law are still premised on human rights and rules. Allowing Israel these land grabs will also sink the Western-led global order.